Such a nice sunny day outside. Hello, welcome. My name is Becky. If you're new here, then I normally do videos on knitting and crochet. I also like to talk about how we can make the most out of some of the stuff that we already have. And that is the focus of today's video. So I have a coat that is Barbour-esque, and it has been in a state of pretty much constant disrepair for the past 3 years or so. It has a number of things that are wrong with it. The pockets are broken, the lining is riddled with holes, and I also think that the outside could do with a bit of TLC, maybe a wax. I am definitely learning how to make and mend. I'm definitely learning how to have it feel visible but still cohesive, the whole garment. And I thought it might be interesting to film the process of me learning about how to fix this coat up and show that back to you. The obvious disclaimer is that I am not a professional. I'm not a tailor. I'm not even a particularly good sewist. If you've been here before, then you will know that for sure. But I think it's useful for there to be a space for people who are learning how to do this. I'm going to try and film as I go. So probably the next few shots that you're going to see are me figuring things out. And I'm going to put as much of a voiceover over it as I possibly can. What I'm anticipating is I'm going to have to use a lot of different techniques to be able to do this. So it's not just going to be the case that I can go and use one specific patching technique for every single problem with this coat. It's going to be a lot more what's appropriate for each section based on my best judgment. And my best judgment might not be that good. But if you're interested in learning together, then please learn with me. If you are way more experienced and you are kind of screaming into a pillow watching me do this, then I also want to hear from you, because all of this is about learning. It's about getting better. And I'm really hopeful that we can kind of rekindle some of that community aspect that's been lost since everybody knew how to do this by teaching each other. And, in the spirit of openness, in the spirit of constructive learning, I'm here to hear that as well. I'm not above help, not above asking for help. I know my own limitations, and they are many. They are comprehensive. They are wide-ranging. They are ever present. Without further ado, I think let's just crack on. Let's just get into it. Otherwise, it's going to be me rambling here all day, which I could do. I definitely could do. And you know what? I'm probably going to do a bit of that in the video as well. Okay, so I have taken off the old pockets now, the ones that were full of holes, and I used that old pocket, I steamed it out, and I used that old pocket to get the shape that the bits of fabric need to be in order to make the new pocket. And I put that on a bit of scrap fabric that I had from an old pillowcase, and now what I'm doing is I'm going to having cut out two new bits of fabric, I'm going to stitch together the bits of fabric and then hand stitch it back onto the coat so that I can then have a new pocket. I've only done that for one of the pockets so far, because the other one I think is intact enough that I can sew it back to the lining. I think it's just come detached, and maybe I can patch that bit of fabric as well rather than create a whole new pocket for it. But that's it. That's what I'm going to do. So I have had to literally dust off my sewing machine in order to be able to do this pocket. It's going to be a bit of an interesting one. I was on YouTube just now being like, how do you wind a bobbin and how do you thread a sewing machine? So it's definitely been a long time since I've done anything like this. And I just did a little test run on some scrap fabric there as well. But I think that I know enough what I'm doing to be able to give sewing up this pocket a go. So that's what I'm going to do now. And there you go, one pocket sewn up. I'm not sure how obvious this will be on the camera. I'm going to let it kind of see if it'll focus. But I now have a stitch that runs all the way round, sort of a couple of inches in from the edges of this fabric, and an opening at the side. The opening obviously goes on the coat, and I'm going to hand stitch that on because I don't really trust myself to have a whole coat in this setup. I think that's going to be just cumbersome and really hard to manage. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hand sew it. You know, for the first time on a sewing machine in a very long time, I'm not too unhappy with it. It's a little bit all over the place, but because it's just a pocket, you know, no one's going to see it. All I need to do is just put my hand in, put my stuff in. So the only thing that I really thought of was I really wanted to have really close stitches together. So I had one of the smallest lengths on the sewing machine just to be able to have something that obviously things aren't just going to slip through if they're tiny. Yeah, that's it. In theory, I'm going to have a pocket. And then once I've done that, then it gets to like the really fun bit, because that is when I want to start patching the lining. And that's where I think it'll get a little bit more creative. So I just want to push past this bit of having the pockets and then get to a point where I'm like, yes, I've got it. I can start being a bit more inventive and creative and do different things. Wish me luck. Okay, so it's the next day and I have now hand sewn the pocket to the coat where the pocket joins. I don't think I mentioned when I was doing this, but the reason why I have done the pocket before fixing the lining is because I think when the coat was made, the two bits would have been put together. The outside of the coat and the lining would have been put together, but the pocket would have been done before that had happened. So it's a lot easier for me to fix a pocket if the lining has a massive hole in it that I can then get to the inside. So that's why that had to come first. But you can see now that it is attached through the inside of the hole of the lining. And when I go to put my hand in, it functions like a pocket. So I actually have a working pocket on this coat for the first time in about 3 years. Up until now, when I've dropped things into the pocket area, and there was like a flap of fabric there, so it was kind of like a 50-50 chance whether it would end up in the fabric pocket or if it would just fall straight through into the lining. Which is obviously not ideal, not what it's supposed to do. The hand sewing, I'm quite pleased with how I did. I've shown quite a lot of my sewing on this channel and it's never been particularly impressive, so please do bear that in mind. But that's the hand sewed line there. It's a little bit neater than previous attempts of mine just because I followed the exact line that the sewing machine did when the pocket was originally attached, so at least it was kind of going into the same place, and then it was able to be a bit straighter than previous attempts that I've made. On that side that I just showed, obviously I've made this seam on the inside of the coat, but that's the second one that I did. And when I attached the other side of the pocket, I accidentally put the seam on the inside of the pocket, which is not great. I might find that a bit annoying to put my hand into, but I think if I find it annoying enough, then I will probably find a way of fixing it, sewing down the seam maybe at worst. But yeah, functioning pocket. There's just a couple of little bits that I need to do to finish it off, just to make sure that There's no little gaps, but I think this is going to hold. I think this is going to be fairly substantial. This is obviously a massive improvement on what I had before. We've had a little bit of a false spring here in the UK, and after that false spring we had today hailstones outside. So I took the coat out for a spin for the first time since I started mending it, and I cannot describe the feeling of security from knowing that the pocket was sewn up and I could put my hand in it, I could put my phone in my pocket and not have it just fall through into the lining. And it just made me think that I literally put this off for 3 years to fix up this pocket, and it genuinely took me a couple of hours to fix it. It will make such a big difference every day that I wear that coat, which again is pretty much every day for my whole life. So I'm going to fix the other pocket now, and I'm not going to do anything. I think I'm just going to do a wee patch on it rather than take the pocket out and replace it like I did with the other one. And it's got a couple of little bits that just need, I think, hand sewn up to be secure again. But once those are done, that side will have the same glorious feeling of security as the first one. And then I can start to do the lining. I mean, originally I thought that I would do the lining on the fixed pocket side first, just to kind of buoy me up, because I couldn't face fixing 2 pockets in a row. I was really looking forward to doing like the visible mending side of things, but I think that actually the function is trumping aesthetics for me now. So that's going to be my next move, is to fix the other pocket, and then we'll get onto the lining. I have now finished doing everything that I want to do to the pockets, so I thought that maybe you deserved a shot that was actually in some good lighting. And I'm going to put this on in a sec actually and show you what it's like on. You can see through here, this is the pocket that I completely replaced. So that one was just beyond repair. There was nothing I could do. On the other side, I've done a variety of different things. So I've kept the old pocket in. What I did was, it was coming away from the seam up at the top, so I patched it. Thank God this is going to be on the inside of the lining, right? I patched it up here with this strip, which is the same fabric as from the other pocket. That was like an old pillowcase that I bought absolutely years ago, and I'm so glad that I kept it, because it was linen. Maybe it's not great to use linen to patch things up. Maybe I should have used something a bit less precious, but it's just a pillowcase. And anyway, I've patched that up so that this pocket isn't coming away from the side there. On the other side, I did another little patch here. But on this bit, I darned it. So I'm going to flip this pocket inside out so that I can show you what the visible mend looks like from the seen side, although obviously this is on the inside of a pocket, so it's not really going to be seen by anybody at all. I just did this because I wanted to practice. I want to do some visible darning on the lining as well. So I was trying to see if I could do this on this type of fabric, but this is what it looks like on the visible side. So it's a kind of classic, I think, Swiss darning technique, and I might do some little patches of that in areas that need a bit of reinforcement. So I'm just going to pop this on for a second. So you can see down here there's these big holes kind of around and in the lining, and that's on both sides there. And that's where I'm going to do larger patches of repair and do a little bit more of the visible side of things, and then kind of see what effect that has, and hopefully it's quite pleasant. But if it's not, nobody ever has to see it. They'll just see the outside. Just been spending some time playing about with fabrics because this was the bit that I was really, really excited for. And I have a bunch of different fabrics that are available. I haven't bought anything new in order to be able to patch this up. I've just been taking stuff that I had that already existed. So I had like old tops and old bits of, some of this is like that pillowcase that I used for the pocket, and some of it is offcuts from a curtain that we got. I think we just got like a wreath of, like a whole thing of fabric from it. Every time I try and speak about this, I have like my cat is going for all of this fabric that's on the ground. Like, she just is fascinated by it. She loves it. I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I have that's available that I'm thinking about repurposing. So it's old clothes, it's a bit of curtain fabric, it's some of the same pillowcase that I used to patch up the pocket, and also there is a tiny little patch that I made in a sashiko class, which is already done with some embroidery, and that is also going to happen for some of the other patches. So I'm now going to show you a couple of the things that I have that I'm thinking, playing about with colour options and toying about with using. Bear with. Okay, I have laid it all out on the floor over the coat. So here's what I've got. That there, that's the patch that I mentioned that I'd already put some embroidery over. And I knew that I was going to use it for this coat, so I did it in this like almost tartan inspired design pattern, and it's done with, it's sashiko inspired rather than, I think, real sashiko, but you can see it's got the little kind of embroidery over it, and that will cover up one of these holes. That's, I was just toying with having it there to cover this specific bit of damage. I've also got, I saved bits of the pocket that had been, that were still there. Those are, I think, still good to use. So I would cut, obviously, the kind of bits that I want. But I think some of this is, it's going to be more decorative than anything else. So I'll probably have a bigger bit of fabric that I then put little snippets on in kind of different shapes over something else. So I was just, I'd folded that to kind of see how I like the look of it over grey as the backdrop. This is more pillowcase that I had, and that's kind of currently covering up this really big area of damage. You can see the pocket again through there. So I don't think I'm going to, this is pretty weak, obviously. It's pretty weak there. But I think I'll probably have two bits. So this bit up here, covering that, connected to a bit that's also going to be down here, and then secure it round the edges and kind of through the middle as well, rather than cutting this bit off. The other bits of damage are on this side. This is a lot more scraggly here. I think I will probably, haven't yet, but I think I will probably cut this, kind of tidy up the hole almost a little bit. A bit there. And that's the pocket that I mended underneath there. This pocket here, it's actually fine. So there's two bits of the lining on the inside. It's like it was made as a pocket with two sides to it and then stitched onto the lining. So it's not, there's no risk of, like, that's sealed up at the edge there. That's all kind of fine. It just needs to have, the patch will need to kind of come under here, so that'll be maybe a slightly more complicated bit to cover up this bit of damage. But this leads me, I think, quite nicely on talking about some of these other fabrics that I've got, because that's more of the pillowcase over there. I've got this massive bit of, it's very thick fabric. I actually don't know what it is specifically, but it was part of our curtain, and then they just gave us extra fabric, I guess, in case the curtain itself gets damaged and then we want to cover that up at all, then we can use this. I was trying to persuade myself that I didn't like the look of this colour against the blue. I actually think I do. I think I do quite like it. I know it doesn't match the blue of the coat, but I still think I like it. I think it looks good. So I was trying to persuade myself that I didn't like it because there's kind of enough fabric here that I actually think I could make a garment. I was thinking about making a skirt out of it. I have a skirt pattern, so I could in theory cut the fabric for the skirt from this big bit of fabric, but it just seems like such a waste to use a little bit to patch up something rather than using like an offcut something else. My cat is absolutely fascinated by all of this being out. Oh, bless her. Hello. Not today, Peps. This is a skirt that I have that I managed to spill some makeup on. It has a stain on the front, and I was thinking about doing some embroidery. Like normally I would think about doing kind of like an embroidery design for a stain, but the placement is not ideal. So the placement is right on the front. It's you can see the discoloration there. I kept it because I thought I could do something with it. Again, maybe I could reuse that fabric for something else. But I think probably actually not for this project. I think the white doesn't work. Use something from that. There's another bit of pocket. Some of this tartan is similar but isn't quite the same, and I can't figure out if it's just from this one is the same, but there is one bit over here that is, it looks distinctly different to me, and I actually don't know if it's just because one was so faded. I think that must be it. One of them must be like so faded that it's not worthwhile. One bit that I think I am going to use is from this red shirt. I loved this shirt. I genuinely loved it. It's 100% cotton. I loved it to bits. It has some very unfortunate stains here on the armpit, so don't judge me too much for that. But also I think I'm probably beyond the stage where I'm like cool enough to wear a shirt anymore anyway. So I think this is a yes. It also actually has a little hole in it here. Maybe able to see. So I think this is going to get reused. I'm a little bit annoyed that it's such a different red from this one. It looks really different on the camera to me here. Like this looks very brown, this looks very bright red. In real life, they're not actually that distinctly dissimilar. It's just kind of coming off a bit strange on the camera, but I think I can live with that as a slight difference. So something will come from this. Maybe I will take a tiny strip from this blue. The blue is a lot heavier. There's probably going to be somebody who tells me that this, or somebody who rightfully tells me that this, I shouldn't be using like loads of different weights of fabric. But what I will say to that is that I am going to be kind of careful with where I use certain bits. So I'm going to try and do this heavier fabric on this bit here, coming off the pocket, because although like this is extremely light, this lining, so I don't want to have a suddenly really, really heavy lining, but I think if I use that on the pocket, then it might actually be like this will hopefully be able to take the weight of an additional bit that's a bit stronger, and then I would just use this as different shapes elsewhere in the patching so that it all feels a little bit more consistent and feels a little bit neater and feels like there's a kind of one cohesive story across the whole bit. So I think that that heavier weight fabric will be fine. I think having the tartan in, and I'll make it quite obvious, I think that it's distinct, so I'll probably put the tartan like angling a different way or, you know, in a very different shape alongside the other bits. And then some of this red, I think I will keep the grey. I was umming and ahhing about the grey, but I think I will keep the grey as well. And I think that'll do us, won't it, Pip? Yeah. You helping me out, Peppy? Yeah? You giving me a hand? Oh, good girl. Oh, you are going to cause so much more damage on this coat than already exists. Oh, God. Okay. I have started doing some of the patches, so I thought that I might show you a little bit of where I've got to. So I have been doing the kind of sashiko inspired embroidery on these two bits of fabric. I have now sewn these bits of fabric together as well here. I did iron it before doing that, and I've got a iron-on patch that I'm going to put around here, and then I'm going to put some additional kind of decorative patches up here just so that the whole thing feels like it's covered and has a kind of maximalist feel to it. But this embroidery is actually super tough work on the blue. It's kind of, I'm like struggling through doing the blue and then really enjoying doing the embroidery up here because that's really easy to work your needle through. I have the fear that I'm going to just stab myself with this needle. But there you go. A little bit of progress. Patch has now been attached to coat. I'm just going to show you what that looks like. First off, I sewed on this patch onto the bit of curtain fabric. This is supposed to be an iron-on patch, but I hand sewed it and it took me absolutely forever. It took probably like 3 hours to sew on, and it was hard going as well. I have now attached the patch to this kind of inside pocket that's here. So the heavy bit of curtain fabric is attached along the bottom, and then the lighter fabric is attached up here along the side. And it's actually also attached to the lining up here. I've hand sewn that on there as well. It is a little bit difficult to pin this in a way that's going to mean that it will hang the way that I want it to when I'm wearing it. I have pinned it whilst I've been wearing it, but just because of the curvature of the lining and the curvature of the coat and the difference in the weights of the fabric, I think it's going to be a bit difficult to get it lying exactly in a flush, flat, nice way that I'm going to be happy with every single time. So I really need to get a bit of a hustle on because it is now the point of the year when I would be wearing this, and in fact I probably would be wearing this today because it's raining if it wasn't full of pins. So I need to finish up this side and I also need to do the other side, but I at least need to get it into a wearable place pretty quickly. So you know how literally in the last clip I was saying that it was really hard to pin the patches onto the coat? Well, look what I picked up. I manifested a mannequin. I have sewn up all of the edges now on the patches. So this whole side is, the gap has been totally covered. It's not like the neatest job. There's some stringy bits, as you can see. And I've been wearing this over the past couple of days, so this week. It seems to have held up okay. I might need to give it a bit of a scan later on and see. But I haven't done this side yet. It's still got the big holes in it. And that's the job for this weekend, because it's so cold now. I want to wear this every single day so that I can be like warm, snuggly. It goes over jumpers really well. It's got a lot of space in it. So I need to just get this project done so that it's a little bit less of a mess and finished. But what's nice is that at each stage, the coat just keeps improving. So the pockets still work great. The lining side is done. When that side is done, it's going to be good. And then I need to wax the outside because it is going to be raining, and it will be much better if this is waterproofed. But I can now pin the patches on the mannequin rather than I had my partner standing and I was going to pin it and try and jab him with it. Try not to jab him with it. Or putting it on myself and then seeing how it was falling and then adjusting the pins there. It was just a hassle. This is going to make it so much easier. I've just spent the afternoon finishing off this panel of patches and sewing, doing the kind of Sashiko inspired embroidery and ironing on the patches. Thankfully, I did actually manage to make these iron on instead of having to sew them on, which is a massive relief because the other one took so long. So I'm just going to pin this now to the lining on the mannequin, and then I'll have it in place for where I want to sew it round and secure it, which I'll do obviously off the mannequin. She's pinned in place. It's not the neatest of jobs. I will probably do a little bit flat and try and make it line up a little bit with the tartan so that it's not obviously jarring with the grain of the lining. But that was, I would say, not easier than the way that I was doing it before. Maybe I should just be doing it flat and then adjusting it whilst on the mannequin. So I might do that off camera. I'm going to sew this up either tonight or tomorrow. So I'll check in once that's done and talk a little bit about how I'm going to wax the coat and other little bits that I need to do. See you soon.
any more. Everybody.
I said 2 days to finish this coat, and it is now October. So it's a good couple of weeks. I hesitate, it might be 3 weeks since I last filmed something on this coat repair. I have had a number of delays. Number one responsible party for the delay, which is not myself, but that award goes to Royal Mail for failing to deliver the wax that I need for the coat. And then the other faults are my own, I do admit. So the first one is that when I sewed on the patches on the lining on the inside of the coat, I accidentally sewed through the pocket, which is really bad news because now my beautiful functioning pocket has a couple of threads through it, which is not ideal. I haven't yet fixed that actually, but I need to do that. And then the other thing is that there were a couple of bits in the lining that weren't for patches, but which were for little darns, and I vastly underestimated how long it would take to just darn the tiniest little hole. So if you wait for me to do that, we'll be doing this for years and you will never get to see the finished result. So I'm going to skip that. I might show you a couple of the little ones that I've done, but what I'm going to do is fix the lining through the pocket problem, and I'm also going to wax up the coat and show you that, and then we'll call it a day and I'll show you the final thing, and we're all going to be really happy and everyone's going to clap and everyone's going to say, well done, well done. So I have bought some wax in this tin, and what you need to do is you need to heat it up and then you apply it with this brush thing directly onto the coat, and then it needs to hang out for like 2 days. So it's not going to be done quickly, but that's what I'm going to do next. In it goes. This is cold water that I'm putting it into, and it just needs to heat up. So we'll have a go at that. It's all popping off. So I finished off waxing the coat last night, and I'm just going to give you a quick update of what it looks like. I've put it back on the mannequin so you can have a little glance. Here it is. Excuse the mess in the background. What you can see is, so there are these little flecks, which is excess wax on the coat, and pretty much all the advice that I saw was like, a little goes a long way, be sparing, and there was me just basically coating the whole thing, layering it on. So I think I have actually put too much on. What I didn't realize was that you have basically 2 days for this to kind of soak in and cure the cotton so that you get waxed cotton that is rainproof. So when I was yesterday, oh, I might get this done quite soon. Actually, it's got this 2 days to stand on the mannequin and cure. And given that I put so much on, actually, it might be 3 days. What I did as well last night, and this is what all the advice said, was you like layer the wax on and then you rub it in with your fingers, and then that should improve the finish of it. So I have also this morning, and probably will do over the next couple of days, like continue to do that and just like continue to rub it into the coat and maybe take some of the excess off. That might be putting a lot of stress on the cotton. That's what I'm kind of worried about, but probably better than leaving it to be, maybe. Anyway, I've got another couple of days of this that I actually can't wear it during that time. Obviously, it would be unpleasant for everybody. Me, everywhere I sit, everywhere I go. And that's kind of annoying because I actually really do want to be wearing this. It's so cold outside. And oh, I'll show you also really briefly one of the darning jobs that I did. So down here on the inside, I did like a little darn down there at the bottom. This is tip of the iceberg because basically this was all coming away. It was actually it was like pretty much ripped apart. So I've done this kind of little triangular darn here just to attach it right back down there. Maybe this will focus a bit better. And obviously I need to cut off that thread, but you can see like the issue is kind of all along. It's really threadbare along the side there. So I've basically still to do. Like I still have little holes like that kind of all up and down, and I'm just going to keep working away at it. The pocket issue that I mentioned before, I am going to do that off camera. I'll spare you watching me fix my own mistake, but what I'm going to do is cut the thread that's inside the pocket and then just see on the lining side where it becomes a bit looser, secure those threads, and then re-secure the patches that I've got to the lining without affecting the pocket. And then hopefully that will mean that I don't like have to redo the pocket, which was never really a risk, I don't think, but also should mean that I don't have to redo all of the attaching to the inside. So that's kind of the beauty of it being more of a visible mend, is that when you make mistakes, it's just part of the fabric of the design. It's not anything, it doesn't sort of set you right back. And I'm okay with that. I will live with that. Well, that's it. That's the video, folks. We're going to call it a day. I am going to close this out with some shots of some of the bits that I'm most proud of, a kind of little montage to say goodbye. But if you'll permit me, I'm just going to share a couple of reflections from the 7 months that I have been fixing this coat for. It takes time. When I first started doing knitting podcasts, I wanted to have a little segment at the end which was about repairing things or upcycling things or doing visible mending or whatever else to extend the life of something that I'd knitted or something that I'd bought. And I did my first ever repair, which was fixing my boyfriend's gloves. And then the second repair that I started on was this coat. So I was ambitious, thinking I could get one done a month, and it's taken 7 months to do this. But that's fine. It was actually many jobs in one, as it turned out. One thing that I've kind of struggled with making this video is the concept of finished. And it's probably not, strictly speaking, finished, even now. There are all those little tiny holes that I'm going to keep darning, maybe ad infinitum. But actually the concept of finished is not just in respect to this project, but generally a little bit meaningless. What's been nice, and I'm going to try not to be too trite about this, is the feeling of contributing to a continual story of one garment that I've had, that I'm the most recent owner of, and hopefully a long time owner of. But the state of it now, being largely fixed up and repaired, is not its final state. Not its final state by me, and maybe not its final state ever, you might hope. Maybe somebody else will love what I've managed to do to this coat as much as I do. What have I learned? Well, I've learned that Got to be really careful when you're patching up a lining not to sew through crucial parts of the infrastructure on the inside. I've learnt that when you're waxing something, a little does go a long way. Take the advice of the people online who have done this before, because it took 2 weeks to dry. Not 2 days, 2 weeks. And I had to do some excess removal of wax towards the end. I learned how to wind a bobbin again many, many years ago. If I ever have to do that, I'm going to have to re-Google it. I learned that I like that things look makeshift. I learned that that's what I like to see. I like to see the layers in repair. I'm not super fussed about it being clean and nice and invisible. I think it's more fun the way that I've done it. And maybe you agree with me, or maybe you don't. Regardless, thank you so much for watching to the end at this point, and let me tune you out by showing you everything that I've done, rounding this all up, and I'll say thank you, goodbye. One thing I didn't realise is how often I wear the same outfits. I think I wore this shirt at the very beginning when I first was making it, and I've worn it multiple times since. I've definitely worn this jumper. I'm not that imaginative. The things I like, I wear them all the time. Oh well.